Всем привет! Сегодня говорим о частной школе-пансионе Sedbergh. Интереснейшая информация. Дожидаемся, пока к нам присоединятся. Я пишу тему, закрепляю. Как ваши дела? Меня хорошо слышно? Если хорошо слышно, что-нибудь там моргните мне, пожалуйста. У меня что-то сегодня с микрофончиком такое нехорошее. Всем привет-привет! Жду присоединения школы. Школа находится в городе Sedbergh, это недалеко от Манчестера, прилетать надо в Манчестер. Учатся там дети полный год, то есть они уезжают от своих родителей и учатся в такой школе. Поэтому много интересного, много вопросов обычно бывает по этой теме. И сегодня мы решили раскрыть некоторые из них. Разговор будет на английском языке, с красивым британским акцентом у нас будет интервью. Можете задавать свои вопросы. Достаточно серьезный такой феномен, который создали англичане. Это конкурентоспособные дети, достаточно сильные, достаточно независимые, способны принимать решения с ранних лет. Все это дает, конечно, частная школа-интернат. Таких детей у нас успешных примеров много. Hello.
Good afternoon, good evening, hello.
Hello. Just I have a little problem with my. So how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me today.
Well, thank you for just deciding to come because you have a lot of things to do. You have a lot of lives. You have online classes and all this stuff. So how is the weather back there in Sedbergh?
Right now, it's absolutely beautiful. Very unusually, we've had no rain for a month. So blue skies, green hills, lovely.
So is the different weather in Sedbergh from London weather, from the part of London or the UK?
It's a little bit different. We get nicer winters. We often get more snow on the hills. It can famously be a little bit wetter in the north, but we haven't seen that this year.
Oh, so not that wet. Okay. Could you please as well introduce yourself for those who see you first time? It's interesting to find out.
Yep. My name is Lottie Wright. I'm the Deputy Headmistress at Sedbergh School, which is a co-educational boarding school in the north of England for 550 children aged from 13 to 18.
So what the question is how this school was started. So I know that this is the family business, very successful family business. So how was it started?
Okay, so the school was founded nearly 500 years ago in 1525 by a man who founded Eton School, the Provost of Eton, who travelled north to create what he called at the time the Eton of the North. And then since then, the school has obviously developed quite a lot in 500 years. And now it's gone from being a very small school for just a few boys to a large boarding school for boys and girls. And a few other things happening.
Why is it co-educational? Because normally in the UK, there are a lot of schools for girls and separately for boys. Why did you decide to choose the co-educational way? What is your philosophy?
In Britain, we have lots of both single-sex schools and co-educational schools. Sedbergh first was a boys' school for a very long time, and then took girls for the first time in the year 2001. And now the girls are 45% of the school population. For us, co-education is a more normal existence for them. They will work in co-educational environments, co-ed environments. They will it creates a more balanced school, but we do also see the benefits in their single-sex time, and the pupils will live in a boarding house of just girls or just boys, and that time in the house is very important to them. So they can just be with the same gender for quite some bits of the time. So actually, it's in some ways the best of both worlds. They get the mix and the balance when they need to, and then they can spend time on their own as well.
So what is the boarding school itself? What are the main principles and main differences of the boarding school and the non-boarding school?
So we are just a boarding school. We don't have particularly day pupils. We operate as if 100% of our children were boarders, and they almost all are. So our school day never finishes. They are part of once they come and they live here, their teachers live here. It's a very nice community, but they don't see there's no end to the school day. The school day ends when it's bedtime. Lots of schools have boarding houses, but they are day schools predominantly. And those children, some of them go home and some stay, and that can be a little bit disjointed for them. Whereas here, all of our children are here all the time. The real values that we try to instill in them are ones of kindness, of being humble, of being resilient, and being very ambitious as well.
So why is it important for kids not to be distracted by, they are not distracted 100%. They are fully involved, as you have already mentioned. They leave their families. They have to take care of themselves. So what benefits do they get from that they leave their families?
So they do leave their families physically, but not completely. It's very important that even though they come away to school, for some of them they come internationally to Britain, for most of them they just come from within the UK, they do leave their families, but their families are part of this community as well. They stay in touch with them. The school obviously is in constant conversation with their families, but then also whilst they're here, this is their family. They very much are part of the people who are here. They feel like they belong in their boarding houses here. So whilst they are away from home, they don't feel like home is a forgotten place. It's very important that they feel part of that. But the benefits really are that they also can use this time to develop more independence, do things for themselves, become ready for university or the workplace after school. But they're still very much looked after. They live in a boarding house with a housemaster or a housemistress who is who are their parents while they're here. They look after them, they take care of them whilst they're at school. So yes, they are leaving home physically, but they don't feel like they're being sent away or not part of a sense of belonging.
We have had our students being with your school, and I know you often send always tweets, photos, videos, so you currently all the time update parents, and it's a great thing to do because not all the schools do like this. Mostly schools, boarding schools or non-boarding schools, send only monthly newsletter and that's it. But as I know, you send a lot of information of your activities weekly and daily.
Yes,
so
daily. We tweet a lot, we send a lot on social media. It's really important for families, especially if they're a long way away, to feel like they can see what their child is up to, what they're doing. It's a very busy school, and it's important that they can see how that works. And at the moment, we're closed, like all schools in the UK, physically closed. There's no children here on campus, but they are all working away and remote learning. And as a result of that, it's even more important that we make people feel like they belong as a result of our social media presence and regular updates to their parents and their guardians. And I think our children, even though they can't be here right now, feel like they're still in their remote Sedbergh.
No, it's great. What is the national content of your school?
Okay, so we're 80% British. British passport holders who live in the UK, and 20% international, which includes all sorts of nationalities, as well as many British families living overseas. So we have children here from all over the world to make it a multicultural place.
So the UK people, British people, could have chosen a more affordable school, I mean a free school or state school. Why do they tend to choose your school for their kids, to send them away?
Yeah, and it's not ridiculously uncommon in the UK to send people to send children to boarding schools. And it doesn't mean our state schools aren't good. There are lots of very good schools in this country. But I think what parents look for is more than just school, more than just going to class from 9 till 4. So here they get sport every day, pastoral care, lots of activities, lots of opportunities, great friendships afforded to them, a bit more of a full holistic education rather than just going to school to learn English and maths and come home again. For many of our families, they have very busy working parents, in which case, obviously, boarding school is convenient. Their children are here, they're busy, they're doing things whilst parents are working. And for many of our children, this is where they want to be, where they have far more opportunities than they would have potentially if they live in rural places or areas where they can't get access to everything.
So what is their typical school day like? What do they do?
Okay, so it varies across the week, and it varies depending on the season and how much daylight we have. But a normal school day would see the children waking up in their houses. They eat their meals in their house. They head off for school lessons in the mornings until lunchtime. Then they come back to their house for lunch. And then in the afternoons, sometimes they have some more lessons and sport. Some afternoons they just have sport or activities that go on until tea time. Back to their house for tea time. And then they have 2 hours in the evening of supervised prep, we call it, homework time, where they can do some independent study. And then fun social times in their houses before they head off to sleep. And that's largely our normal working week. Weekends are very busy as well. Saturday is a school day in the morning, and they have activities and sport in the afternoon. And then Saturday evenings, they have a full social program where they can be teenagers and have fun with their friends, go to the cinema, go to a party, those sorts of things.
Yeah, it's great. So we have something. Pastoral care, individual learning needs are catered for. All children are guaranteed to reach their full potential at Sedbergh. Yes, I have heard a lot about Sedbergh, including this ones. Yeah, and it makes a big difference for you as a school to stand out.
Yeah. Yes.
So
and because we have that all the children here, all the staff here, everybody looking after each other. And there's 550 children, but that's a small school, and we know everybody, and we can look after everybody as an individual.
So how do you succeed to get children not distracted while doing their homeworks or individual projects?
Well, they're still teenagers, so we do have to, it's not always perfect. Whilst they do their homework in the evening and at bedtime, they hand their mobile phones in. So that they can concentrate on their work. We have good routines about digital access. We don't stop it. They use it. It's important in their education. It's important that we teach them how to use it wisely. But we do, at their request, take their electronic items off them at certain times to give them that break from their screens. And distractions and all the risks that come with technology. But also our children are very, they like being outside. We ask that they all participate in some form of sport every day. It's good for them, fresh air, time outside, team sports, times with their friends. That's really important to them.
So what is normal structure of your curriculum, of your course? When do they come? to start their studies? When do they have breaks? Whether they go home for breaks or not?
Yeah, okay, so a school year starts in September. So the year is divided up into 3 terms: September to December, then we have a long Christmas break, January to Easter, end of March, early April, another Easter break, and then they come back at the end of April and carry through normally until the end of June. Obviously, we're not here at the moment. And then they have a very long summer holiday. So that's the structure of the year. Within those 3 terms, we also have a 1-week holiday or a 2-week holiday. Particularly in that first term, we have a 2-week holiday at in October. So if children want to go home, they can. Obviously, they can fly back to you reasonably quickly and very easily from Manchester Airport. So whilst they're here, it's very immersive, they're very busy, but they do have the opportunity, obviously, to go home as well. So that's the structure of the year. Curriculum-wise, most of our children join us in year 9, so that's age 13. We do have a prep school as well for younger children, which we'll come on to in a minute. But at the senior school, which is here in Sedbergh, they join in year 9 and they study every subject we offer, something like 15, 16 subjects. So they get a taste of everything, they experience it all, and then they can begin to choose the subjects they're interested in. So most of our children come in year 9. We do take some into year 10, and year 10 and 11, so aged 14 to 16, is a 2-year GCSE course, and our pupils take usually 10 subjects. That must include English, maths, sciences, different sciences, and then they can choose whatever other subjects they want to do: history, geography, religious studies, art, music, drama, French, Spanish, they can choose. That takes them to the end of year 11, so age 16, and then from there is sixth form, so years 12 and 13, where we follow A-levels, the traditional English curriculum, where our children pick 3 or 4 subjects to continue for those last 2 years before they head off to university.
So do you offer anything else except for A-levels? Do you offer foundations, baccalaureate?
We do, yes. So most children do A-levels, but not exclusively. We also offer BTEC courses, which are more vocational. We offer those at the moment in sport and exercise science, business studies, and a city and guild, which is like a BTEC qualification in agriculture. And children can take those on their own or alongside A-levels, or they can do just A-levels, or they can mix. It's completely their choice.
So it's a competitive advantage if they could mix, yes, because they're getting A-levels results and some vocational card.
It can be, yes, for many courses it's good to have a combination. One of our very brightest children recently did A-levels in physics, chemistry, biology and maths, and a BTEC in agriculture because she wanted to study veterinary science. And,
wow.
And that little extra in agriculture really helped her application.
So these guys at the year 11 and 12, 13 already do know what they want to proceed with?
Well, they don't always, but we try and help them because the English system asks that they narrow their subjects down age 16 to just 3 or 4. That can be hard for some of them to choose what they want to do, but we have a careers program throughout their time at school to try and help them make those decisions, to pick the right courses, the ones they enjoy, the ones they'll do well at, and the ones that will allow them to progress to the next stage, to university or wherever they want to go.
So your professional orientation program, when does it start normally?
From a very young age.
Oh.
It's never too young to talk about careers, about what jobs there are. We invite a lot of people onto the school campus to give lectures, to talk about what they do, just to give them ideas so that they can choose. You know, many of our children will go on to do jobs that don't even exist now. So it's about preparing them for the skills they need to take on whatever it is they do which may well change, and they may not know what that is yet.
Of course. So what about the requirements for their entrance? For example, our children of 13 years old may have not at all expertise in English. They may be A2 or A1 or B1. So how do we deal with it?
That's fine. So we would ask them probably via you to sit an English exam and a maths exam so we can see where they are. We would also ask that they sit an online aptitude test, so not necessarily based on words, but mathematical, spatial, visual exams. And providing their English is at a level where, especially if they're age 13, where they can access what we're doing, we can help by providing intensive English language lessons in addition to their normal curriculum to get them to the level so that when they start their GCSEs, they are much more fluent and much more confident. So at age 13, if their English isn't amazing, they don't need to worry. We will help them in that first year to really learn the skills they need. And because they're living here with almost all British people, their language skills will improve very, very quickly because all of their friends all around them will be speaking English. And it is hard. At the beginning, they may find it very tough, slightly frightening when you don't know what's happening. But the speed at which children at that age learn is very impressive. And our English language dedicated teachers will help them at age 13.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot. The full immersion takes up to 3-4 months to get it on track. So how about exams? You mentioned exams. Are they taken online or on paper? How do you estimate it?
We're happy to do either generally. We would usually, if for whatever reason children can't come here, which at the moment they can't, to visit, we would ask test centres to administer them for us. And we would also ask to have an interview with the child on Skype over the phone so we can get to know them and find out. It's not an exam interview, it's just a chance for us to see if we feel like they would get the most out of Sedbergh, that they would fit in here and enjoy things. So it would give us a chance to get to know them. So rather than a pass, fail, you must be this good, we want to check that we have the right children here who would make the most of our opportunities.
Mm-hmm. So what about if there are some children with some distracted attention or some problems with their writing and reading when they need more time, when they have some disabilities? Do you accept some children?
We certainly do. We'd obviously have to assess everybody on a case-by-case basis, but absolutely fine if they are dyslexic, dysgraphic, anything like that, not an issue. Many of our children are, and we have a specialist learning support department here who often provide one-to-one support, extra help, or just an informal extra level of support. No problem at all. But again, we would just sort of check every child and see if the level of support they need is something we can offer. But generally speaking, day-to-day problems with reading or writing, we can help them overcome to the best of their ability.
Mm-hmm. And about the sense of belonging, I was very proud for some of our students because of your standards of standing out as a school member. Tell me more about your culture, about your uniforms, about everything that you create as a spirit of Sedbergh.
Yeah, and that's the phrase we use, the spirit of Sedbergh. And sometimes it's very hard to define. We ask our children to be good, upstanding people who have a good sense of right and wrong, who stand up for what is right, who look out for other people. And we have a very strong sense of understanding that a school like this one and many others is a very privileged, special opportunity, and they cannot become arrogant with that or think it is a deserved right. And therefore we ask our children to be very thoughtful to others, to give back to the community, to have a strong sense of charity, and to recognize that this opportunity actually gives them the power to change things. So we try and instill those values in them from the start. We do a lot of community work, a lot of charity work with every child. And then this bit about identity, partly our location, whilst it's not very remote, it feels remote. And there is a sense of we're here together in the hills, in the green space, in a very special part of the country. And I think the children really understand the natural beauty around them. And then we have sort of traditional things that many schools have, a real loyalty to our school colour, which is unusually brown. And they're very smart. They wear a school uniform, which is a traditional English tweed with the school colours in it, with brown and gold checked through it. And we ask that they are very tidy, very neat, and to have pride in it. They also, and this is the important bit, are so proud and loyal of their boarding house. And when they go and play sport or compete for their house, those also have colours, and they wear those house colours with a real pride. And sometimes it's a bit of a culture shock for our children, but very soon, once they get kind of sucked into the way of life here, they are very proud of what they do and how they do it. They're very competitive.
So could you please specify about the houses? Do you divide them into some kind of certain teams by ages, or?
No, so a house is just what it sounds like, a house where they live, and they eat there and they sleep there. So there are 6 boys' houses, which have 50 to 60 boys in them, and 3 girls' houses, which have 60 to 70 girls. And they join their house in year 9, age 13, and they stay in their house for 5 years. So they soon become the oldest ones who have to look after the younger ones. And they take on that responsibility to be the very best house and to look after everybody.
Do they? How many people how many people live in the room?
So when they first start in year 9, usually in rooms of 3 or 4, and then as they get older, that gets smaller and smaller. So years 10 and 11, rooms of 2, gradually rooms of 1, and then in the 6th form they have single rooms in years 12 and 13, mostly.
For more concentration.
Yes, and they've made their friends, they've done the sociable thing, they now have a room with a desk and they can work in it and have a bit of privacy. They're nearly going to university. Yes, they grow up.
Are the rooms ensuite, or they have showers and toilets on the floor?
The showers and toilets on the floor, more sort of communal ones with multiple showers in one room, but dotted around the house. So there's not 60 of them going to the same place at any one time. But they're not en suite. The boarding houses are designed to be sociable spaces where they don't just live in their rooms watching their computers. We want them out and about and being sociable.
So what kind of food do you offer to the kids?
Okay, so we don't have a big dining room like most schools. Our food is catered in each boarding house. So each house has a chef, and he or she will prepare all 3 meals a day for the children and snacks throughout the day. So it is a very balanced, varied menu, but there's no one fixed menu across the school. So each chef can choose what the house has, what's popular, what's not popular. There is a bit of choice. And we absolutely cater for dietary needs, and anything like that is no problem. But breakfast is an informal thing with toast, cereal, fruit, yogurts, hot food. Lunch is a much more formal part of the day where the children sit down like a family with their tutors who sit with them and serve them like a family meal. It's very slow, it's nice, they make polite conversation. It's an important part of their day to slow down and take stock. And then tea time again is a bit more informal, a bit more of a buffet. Again, plenty of choice, very balanced. And all of our food is largely locally sourced from local farms and local shops.
That's great. So the balanced vegetables, fruits to all tastes, vegans for those who don't eat.
Fine. Yeah, anything. If you dietary needs or allergies are absolutely fine.
So you ask about allergies in advance, right?
Yes, any illnesses, allergies. These children are children and they're living with us, so we take on the role of a parent. And actually, the nice thing about having in-house dining is that if a child does have an allergy, well, the chef knows him personally, him or her, and can say that I've done this one for you. You don't eat this bit, eat this bit. There's no risk compared with a big dining room where children can have choice and get a bit lost.
So we have a question, very interesting. How have you handled the transition to online learning? It was actually my question too, so I'm interested in the...
Yeah, and like many schools, we weren't ready to do this immediately. We hadn't planned on closing our doors in March. So we had a very short period of time to prepare, which we did very quickly. We upskilled our children and our staff to be able to take our lessons online and home. And when the government closed the schools at the end of March, we had 1 week still before a big holiday. So we used that week to really test the systems, get our children ready for it, adjust to a new timetable at home. And then after that week, we asked them what's working, what's not working. How can we do this with children on different time zones? What else can we do that isn't just learning, the holistic part of education? How can we bring that to you when you're at home? So we then spent our Easter holidays, where we had 3 weeks, really developing those skills, investing in some IT software, working with all of our teachers to make sure they were able to deliver the lessons. And we've started this term. This is our 3rd week back. Very successfully, our children are making progress. They're very happy. They'd rather be here. They want to come back to school. We'd like them back at school, but they're doing very well. And we deliver all of our lessons live, every teacher, every day, like they were at school. They're a little bit different to being at school. But we also haven't lost any of our other things. So they still have tutors. They still have housemasters. We phone them every day. Someone calls them to check on them, ask how things are. And then we also offer music, drama, art, competitions every day, house competitions. We're doing a dancing one this week. Things to make them feel connected and part of school life. It's working really well, and we are very happy with it. We don't want to do it forever. We'd like to come back to school soon.
Of course.
The children would too. But for now, it's actually proving that children all over the world can do the same thing at the same time. So I taught a lesson today, Year 10 English class this morning. I had a child in the Cayman Islands. I had a child in Australia, and they were here, no problem, listening, asking questions, no issues.
So how do you deal with the time zones? You've mentioned it, but I didn't quite understand. Did you set the time, some specific time?
So we've changed our timetable slightly so that it's a bit more manageable for people in both extremes, if we're in the middle. But we also record all of our lessons. So if children, generally people to the east of us, so you and into China and Australia is fine, because we're working in the morning, it's just late in the afternoon or the evening. For children who are west of us in America, that can be a bit harder because they have to wake up very, very early. So if that's too early for them, that's okay. We're not going to force them to come to school at 3 o'clock in the morning. So we record all of our lessons live. So once they wake up, they can catch up on what they've missed. And then whilst we're here in the afternoons, we can phone them, speak to them, dial them, check that they're understanding what's going on and that they still feel part of this community.
Oh, that's great. So that's how, I mean, we consider British people, though the schools that are 500 years old, to be conservative, you know, but you are not. You are innovative, so you are trying your best to keep your community, and that's what we respect Sedbergh for, really.
Yeah, we are. It's really important that we don't just say, stop, we'll come back to school one day, never mind, because educationally it's important they keep going, but actually more importantly they can't just forget that they have this community. The thing they're missing are their friends and the social time. So we're trying to do everything we can to make them feel like it's still going.
So do you believe that that full online education is possible, or you think that the human factor is something that makes us humans and makes us more educated? Because there are so many controversial talks about that. What do you think?
I think it is possible to exist solely online. You can do it, and educationally and pedagogically, things are developing so that you can make huge progress on your own. But for me, what makes this school is are people. And whilst I can see them on my screen and we can talk and we can debate, it's not the same. You know, it's not as natural and as fluid. You keep interrupting each other, talking over each other. Technology fails us sometimes. Sometimes the Wi-Fi goes and that's the end of it. So for me, I couldn't imagine just doing it. And a lot of what we do is about doing things as a team, and you can't recreate all of that online.
Exactly. It's impossible. It's the spirit of people surrounding you. It's their voices, their breathing, the smells around and everything. It makes us so much social.
Our children love the natural beauty here as well, and you can't recreate a photograph.
So, and the final question is concerning your value at the school. What do your alumni, the school leavers, those who successfully complete the program, what paths do they choose? Are they more scientific or humanistic, artistic? What schools, what countries do they choose to proceed?
There's no obvious pattern. Our children go on to do absolutely everything, whatever they want. And that's because we have a very rounded education here. So children are exposed to everything. There's no preference that they must be scientists or they must be artistic or whatever. We want them to do a bit of everything. Traditionally, many of our children go on to very good British universities, Russell Group universities, but increasingly our children go all over the world now, more and more to America, many to European universities. Often they're taught in English anyway. And we will see nationwide a decrease in children going to university. And that's no bad thing. You know, traditionally, schools have said you must go to university and that's our measure of success. So much now, companies are offering degree apprenticeships, learning on the job. Big businesses are often taking very good school leavers and training them into all sorts of things and studying later. There's no fixed pattern of what our children must do or feel they have to. Still, most will go on to university, and we're very proud of that. But they don't have to. It's not always the right outcome for everybody.
So, but still, you still have communication with them. What direction is now in the mood, the most popular? I mean, the trend. There should be some trend, or
there
not?
Should be. I don't think there is.
No?
No, at the moment, our most popular A-level subjects are geography, design and technology, and the sciences.
Wow.
But that will change. That's just at the moment. We ask them to make their own decisions. We give them a whole range of opportunities, and let them pick with help and guidance along the way. So I don't think we could say there's any set patterns. We'll have children going off to study music at conservatoires and people going off to study medicine, and we're equally proud of it. It's okay, whatever they choose.
So it's a great diverse feeling that they can do anything, because I've faced a lot of schools in different countries, and they say, okay, our kids are more IT, our kids are more going to science, biology, medicine, so yours are different, and that's great.
They are, because they come at age 13, and who knows what you want to do when you're 30? Who knows what you want to do when you're 18, really? But definitely not at 13. So it's important that they have all of that breadth so they can choose what they want to do. And that may change, and that's okay.
So what would you say, like, finally, as an advice for parents who are still struggling? They want to send their kids to the boarding school, but they have some concerns. Maybe you have some advice for them to decide if the child is ready or not.
I think probably my best advice would be, let us meet your child. You know, have a conversation. This is a school where, like we just talked about, people are people, and you know, if you're nervous about things, let's talk about it, and perhaps we can be reassuring. There are very few children who don't enjoy this, and who don't succeed. I would say it's not right for everybody, but for many children, they're more than happy to do this and to be brave and step out there. Sometimes it's the parents who worry more about it, and I would just suggest they come and have a conversation, and we discuss those fears, and we discuss the way forward, and find the right time for that child to come to school. You know, whilst I said we start here in year 9, we do actually have a prep school as well, where perhaps, although it sounds silly, they might want to come younger, but you know, in a smaller school, a more gentle, nurturing school, to prepare them, improve their English, get them ready for senior school, where there's a lot more people. So you know, starting those conversations early, and seeing if it's right. And I think people will soon realise that while sending your child away to school feels like a big commitment, and it is, and it's a long way away, I think people will realise just how personable we are at keeping all that communication open, so you never feel that far away.
That's great. Thank you very much for taking your time and answering the questions. We had a lot of inquiries for the boarding schools to be introduced. So we are going to save this video and post it on the timeline and share with you with the translation to Russian and some specific moments. And if we have some questions, we will get back and have some.
No problem. Please do ask whatever you wish to ask. No problem at all.
Lotus, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Have a great evening.
You too. Okay, good night.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.